Hello, hello. Ginny Bolling here with Pivotal REI, formerly known as Pivot to Prosperity. That is brought to you by the company called Pivotal Real Estate Investments, where we help investors build wealth and income through commercial real estate that also improves communities. And so I am a member of our local RIA, which I talk about often. It's called CFRI, Central Florida Realty Investors. And I met Rob Arnold through there, and he is our guest today. Thank you for coming on, Rob.
Hey, how you
And
doing?
I have nominated him as a local legend and pivotal person because he is a local legend and pivotal person.
Thank
He has
you.
helped so many people and for so many years and so much, and he's a generous, generous soul. And he doesn't even think of himself as doing things sometimes when he's doing things. And so he gives a lot of time to the folks at CFRI. He monitors the legislation and things that might affect the things we do. We are a professional association that tries to help investors understand what ethics and education can do for them to improve their practice, whatever it may be, whether they're flipping or doing buy and hold or commercial, whatever it is. And so Rob is a pivotal person to help make sure that we know when there's legislation out there. And he sits in on board meetings to help advise. And then he has his real estate company, Sand Dollar Realty. I'm freewheeling a bit because I didn't ask you for a bio, but I believe, well, how long has Sand Dollar Realty been an entity?
About 25 years.
Yeah, a while.
Yeah,
And
wow.
I was just quizzing you a little bit. You have what, over 100 agents that are potentially asking you questions and needing something or other, 12 or so of which are real active and full time. So you're a busy guy. You've
Yeah,
got a lot of different things you've done over the years too. We've chatted before in advance, and from broker opinions to consulting on flood hazard and building integrity, it sounds like, right?
right.
So what did I miss? Tell us more about what really is enjoyable to you anyway.
Well, a lot of what I do is I work with my sellers, and a lot of my realtors are investors as well, and so I work with all that them to work on their deals and try to help them get them sold. So work with, but mainly focus on the sellers right now, because it's a little bit harder to get them properties moved, and so I work with a lot of these sellers to try to market their properties and get them sold. And many of my realtors have a real estate license as well, and so that I do a lot of consulting with them. They're investors and they have a real estate license. So uh,
And that was like I told you, I want people to know what the takeaway is, and you hit the nail on the head right there already with these are difficult times to sell a house right now. And so your takeaway is what is your advice to people that are transacting?
I think the main thing just work as much as you can with professionals. Don't skip over the dollars. Try to pick up the pennies. I mean, it's not necessarily, you know, I mean, it's not all just focus on commission, things like that, but you know, do, I mean, most realtors charge the same amount, whether you're dealing with somebody that's brand new or your brother-in-law or whatever, as somebody who sold 1,000 houses. And so you want somebody with experience to to be working with, and you want somebody. I mean, I see people, they don't take professional photos, they're using their phones to take photos, and you can't be doing that. Spend $200 on your to sell your $500,000 house. Don't skimp over it, like taking, people take photos and they're crooked and they got their thumb in front of them and things like that. um and you certainly, I mean, the prices have gotten so expensive. I mean, the median house now in Orlando is something like 350, 380,000, something like that. I mean, if you're buying a property, get the inspector bucks and getting the property checked out, because I mean, what one wrong thing, you find out you have aluminum wiring that hasn't been done properly. I mean, it costs tens of thousands of dollars. Same with the roofs. If a few years ago, roofs were cut, 7,000, 8,000 bucks to replace a roof. Now they're like $25,000. So I mean, you want to just get do the due diligence, like I said, work with professionals to and not skimp on things.
Protect yourself, right?
For
Protect
sure,
yourself by all
for
means.
sure,
And you actually deal with people since you're active in CFRI that are wholesalers and doing all different kinds of things. So
sure.
like before we went online, you were talking about that the wholesalers you wouldn't necessarily say have to have professional photos, but so you take the time to tailor your advice is my point to whoever it is, it seems.
Right. Yeah. A lot of what I do is just consulting with people to help them with it, with their marketing or with pricing of the properties, and then then ultimately once we get the property listed or get under contract, and then getting everything done so that it's done properly and everybody's protected. And of course, we try to, if we're working with a seller, we're trying to get as much value as we can for them with the yeah, so they net the highest amount and for the quickest time. And then with the buyers, we want to, use, especially in a slower market, just beat them down. We're gonna squeeze every last penny out of the seller if we can. So, so that's just how you do it.
Yep, just depends on who your client is sometimes,
Right,
right?
right.
Now, are you a transaction broker often too, where you're representing both sides?
But sometimes usually when I'm doing, most of the time when I'm doing that, it's like a vacant land sale where we do it directly with them. But if it's a normally, if it's a home or a building, normally it's not very often where there's only one real estate agent involved. Usually, each side, a seller and a buyer, each have their own normally.
Now, this last year, we also had a big major change in the commission structure, right? Can you talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's basically two things happened with there was a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit that went into effect about a year and a half ago. I believe it was kind of the fall of 2023, and what requires is that one is that any buyer that's buying a property has to sign basically the equivalent of a listing agreement with a buyer agent, a representation agreement, similar to the way sellers always sign listing agreements. It's always been that way. But the buyers most of the time did not. And so but now in order to step foot into a property, the buyer is supposed to sign a representation agreement with whoever's representing them, the broker or the agent. That's number one. And then number two is that the buyer side commission is fully negotiable. It used to just be kind of mandated through the multiple listing system, the database that the realtors use, MLS. And but now it's negotiable, and so I do see frequently where, I mean, I'm selling a property over in Tampa that actually just went pending a day or two ago, and that they hammered the seller good, but because of that, the seller just said, "Well, you pay your own realtor fee," and so the seller's not paying a real estate commission for the buyer side. The buyer's paying their own. So, which prior to this 2023 settlement, you would never see that. But now it's probably, I'd say, 25% of the deals you see that where the buyer ends up paying their own.
I would have thought more than that, but yeah, 25% is
Yeah,
probably just the beginning. I don't know, maybe it's
yeah,
hard to say.
yeah. I see that, and I also see where realtors, the buyer's realtor will call us as a listing agent and say, well, how much is the commission? And they want to know how much are you paying to buyers realtors, and you tell them an amount, and then they'll write up an offer, and then they'll write up a higher percentage anyway onto it, and they'll even get even more out of it. And then if especially if the property's been on the market for a couple months, the seller often will just take it because, it's the only offer they have. So they just take it and they end up paying extra anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when the market does get hot again, it will change again. I
Oh
probably,
yeah. Oh yeah. It'll change dramatically once the market heats up.
yeah, yeah. And so, what do you think it will take for that? Do you think we're at the beginning of the upswing, or what do you think?
I kind of think that we're at the end of the bottom cycle. I think 2025 was kind of, I believe it was the bottom. I think that there is major pressure on interest rates to go down. That the Federal Reserve has lowered their interest rates, which doesn't directly affect mortgages, but it has some indirect effect on it. I mean, yeah, definitely. President Trump he's going to be he's pushing for lower interest rates. He's going to get a new Federal Reserve chairperson in 2026 that's going to be more favorable towards uh, lower interest rates. And in Florida, there's a big push to do something about property taxes that have gotten high. And so I think that there's going to be some changes with that. Something will happen in 2026 with property taxes, which will probably lower them. And so I think that those type of items will make the market kind of bottom out with the pricing and the slowness, and it'll make things more affordable, and that'll bring more buyers into the marketplace.
Right, because most lenders are going to require that you have your taxes and escrow account, which increases the payment, which makes it so hard for so many people to qualify, right?
Right. Yeah, it's just affordability, just the whole principal, interest, taxes, insurance, PITI payment, monthly payment. Once that it gets more in line with incomes, then it will change things. And when interest rates drop, which sometimes they drop quickly if the Federal Reserve reduces the rates, then that will directly affect the market. I mean, it won't. I mean, it doesn't change immediately. The real estate is much slower than things like the stock market or gold, Bitcoin. Those things, fluctuate all over the place. Real estate doesn't fluctuate like that. It's more of a slower process where it takes months or even a couple of years to go through a cycle.
Right, right. And so do you think that the commission change has been a factor in slowing the market sales volume?
Yeah, I think it definitely. That's just one more part of it. I mean, I don't think it's had a dramatic effect as like the interest rates has, but it definitely it's had buyers, realtors pause because they're trying to figure things out. Maybe it's scared off some of the buyer representatives that don't want to have that conversation with their buyers and make them sign a paper and make them think that they're going to have to pay some exorbitant fee that they don't want to pay. And so I think it's definitely affected. uh, I think now it's been a little over a year, and so I think we've kind of worked through that now, and the realtors and the buyers and sellers have gotten more educated on it now, but it's still kind of working through the system. So
Yeah, yeah.
everybody's getting used to the new way, the new way of playing the game. So.
Do you think buyers actually, before they talk to any professionals, are at the point where they're thinking, okay, I'll need 20% or whatever to go down, and then this amount towards taxes and insurance? Do you think they're adding a broker commission yet?
Uh, Mm, I don't think so because most of them I think most of the realtors they work with are telling them, having a conversation saying that we're going to try to get the seller to pay that, and and I mean a lot of them are probably not saying, oh, you might possibly get stuck with that commission. I think most of them are just saying we're going to get the seller to pay it, and that you know, I mean right now they probably are getting them to pay it most of the time. To the only ones I think that are actually not paying it is some of these investor properties where an investor is just trying to lowball them, and so that they're willing to say, okay, I'll pay my guy if I can get the lowest price. So, but the retail, I think they're definitely, it's still the retail buyers and sellers are still having the seller side pay for it the vast majority of the time.
Well, and so that's really your expertise too, since you represent more sellers. So you
Right.
you would be more in the know, and I imagine they come to you very, very frequently because of your decades of experience here in this market. So that's probably very, very appropriately figured there.
Sure.
But do you think that do sellers feel like it's unfair? Do they side with that opinion, that judge's opinion, or do they feel like it is appropriate for the sellers to be paying both sides anyway?
I mean, I've heard it both ways, but I mean, I mean, I think most sellers now, the market's been it's been almost 3 years with these higher interest rates, and I think most of the sellers are aware that it's tougher to sell a property, and so you're probably not gonna get the price you want necessarily, and if you're going to sell it, you're going to end up having to pay a buyer side commission.
Yeah,
So I think they've come to that realization, most of them, and normally I mean I market myself just when I tell them say look what we're my fee is basically the listing side is it, and the buyer side is totally optional, but they're going to come and ask you to pay their fee, and if you're probably going to end up having to pay it. But I mean, where beforehand we'd have to come in and basically just say our fee is both sides, and now I can market and just say that our fee is just the listing side, but you're probably
yeah,
going to pay a buyer side anyway.
yeah. At least in a tough market, but it is
Yeah.
negotiable. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's at
yeah,
least
yeah. If when the market shifts and it becomes a seller's market again, yeah, yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see,
yeah, yeah.
see the buyers trying, agents trying to justify their check. But they were
So let me go ahead.
yeah, right now. I mean, you want to sell your property, you're going to pay it.
Right. And so we'll repeat the takeaway. So you would hope that people, the listeners, would take away what now?
Yeah, well, just think you don't want to skip over the dollars to pick up pennies. You want to work with professionals, people that know what they're doing, that are going to do things to market your property and help you do the right due diligence and do the right things in order to if you're selling to get your property sold for top dollar as quickly as possible. If you're buying to make sure that you're not buying a bunch of problems or mistakes.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And so I always ask people towards the end if there is a pivotal person or event that has affected them or is driving them towards some particular goal, which is a chance to do a shout out for anybody that's particularly influenced your life. Is there anybody for you or any event?
Well, the Center for the Realty Investors, that's always been good to me. I mean, I think I wouldn't be full time doing real estate without them, without that group. I mean, I just learned so much and learned to network with so many. Uh, one person that I know that think a lot about Andy Tolbert. I don't know if you know Andy, but she's I've known her about as long as I've been involved in real estate, and she's always just been real sharp, and I've learned a lot from her and the things that she does, and she does a lot of real estate investing also. So
Are you nominating her as a pivotal person?
yes,
Okay, all right. So you'll need to either let her know that you nominated her or tell us how to reach her so that we can tell her you nominated her. But that's great.
okay, okay,
Yeah, that's super. And all
I
right.
will.
Well, so tell people how they can reach you.
Well, I can. I mean, if you search Sand Dollar Realty Group online, it's sanddollarrealtygroup.com. You can find our business website. I give out my cell phone number. It's 407-375-4567. It's my number. 407-375-4567. Call, text me. I'm on the phone half the day anyway, so
Yeah.
be happy to talk to you about real estate or anything else. So.
Great. And we'll put all that in the show notes, of course, and you can check those, make sure we get everything just so. And so yes, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I hope people will remember your takeaway. We'll work with professionals, and I know that you definitely do a great job with helping people. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.